What is good, Ninja? OJ over here from PlayerEssence, and welcome to the PE Nintendo Switch and gaming news video. Today, we've got some great information for you guys, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Nippon Ichi pledges more support for the Nintendo Switch after Disgaea 5 completes success. So Nippon Ichi Software has reconfirmed future support for the Nintendo Switch. The company did say that they're quite happy with the sales of Disgaea 5 Complete on the system and saw a great response to fans overseas with the game. The game in Japan necessarily didn't do so well, but people in America specifically and Europe somewhat did love the title, had pretty good pre-order numbers according to Nippon Ichi Software, and apparently I saw quite a number of people playing it on my Switch friends list, so I'm pretty sure the game did pretty good, and that's the reason why that they're happy with the sales as far as what they were estimating it to be, okay? It's not like a huge, massive, multi-million seller, but it's good enough for what the game is, which is a smaller type of game when it comes to Disgaea 5. They're happy with the sales, but they did not say what games they plan to bring over, but they have a number of games in development, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing a lot of Switch ports from Nippon Ichi Software in the future. Now, I actually really like Disgaea 5. I received the review copy for myself. There's just so much content in that game. It's almost like impossible to beat all of the content in there. It has all of the trophies over from the PlayStation 4 version, and if you like do the trophy or whatever, or if you do the event that you need to unlock the trophy, it like pops up just like it. It has a bunch of DLC, it has a ton of content in there. It's a fantastic port of the game. So if you're looking for a big, massive RPG, strategy RPG to play on your Nintendo Switch, whether it's portable mode or on the TV, Disgaea 5, you really can't go wrong with that game. Obviously, we have stuff like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, but it's kind of a different style of game. That's more like the XCOM style and everything, whereas Disgaea 5 definitely has a little bit more of a Fire Emblem feel to it than Mario plus Rabbids. But either way, great RPGs on the Nintendo Switch, a lot of content in there with all the DLC and extra stuff that they added. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Nippon Ichi Software has for the Nintendo Switch in the future, because a lot of their games are actually pretty cool. I'm wondering if that Witch game is going to come over to the Nintendo Switch. I think that would be pretty cool as well. So let me know what Nippon Ichi Software games you would like to see come over to Nintendo Switch after the success of Disgaea 5 Complete. Alright, and moving on to the next article here. Feed developers explain why they're bringing the game to the Nintendo Switch and praise Nintendo fans in the process. So this is a portion of DualShockers interview with the creative directors of the game, and I cannot say their names, so I'm terribly sorry about that. I just can't say their names. So let's get into this article here. So this is the question that was asked of them. The big news at Gamescom was that your game is coming to Nintendo Switch. What made you guys decide to port the game to Nintendo's console? Here's what one of the developers had to say. You pushed really hard for that, isn't it? And then the other developer said, I did push really hard. And then here's what they both said. We really like the Nintendo Switch. And then they went on to say, I thought that with the software we're working with, it was quite easy. I felt, why not? Why shouldn't we do it? I really like the console, and I really like to have the game that you can play on the go. I think it's a cool game to play with headphones. I like to play on my couch, in bed, so I thought definitely we should do it. I also really like Nintendo fans. I think they're very open to new creative games, and I think they're very positive about that. I thought it would have been cool to have it on the Switch as well. And absolutely, looking at this game, Fee, I think this is one of those games that can actually do just as good, if not better, on the Nintendo Switch than the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And that kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of these different indie developers that are making games. Now, this game, Fee, is a little bit different because it's being published by EA, but it's through their EA like Originals program, or they're basically their EA Indies program, where they find a game that is really cool looking and the developer that needs a little bit more means when it comes to publishing and support, and they kind of take on that game on its wing and have a big release for it. And they did that with Unraveled last year to success, and I think that they're going to have another success with this one. But I think this one's a little bit better because it's a 3D action type of game, platformer. You have some flying in there. I think the concept is a lot better, and I think a lot of Nintendo fans will like this style of game. I'm personally somewhat looking forward to it. I think it has a great concept. It's unique. The art style is actually really good, and I'm definitely going to be checking it out more than I checked out Unraveled, because Unraveled didn't necessarily look like amazing to me. The graphics were great in there, but the concept, the pace of it, it really reminded me of like Yarn Yoshi or something like that. And I'm not a big fan of the pace of those games or anything, you know, in that nature. So this one is a little bit more my style as far as what I'm looking forward to playing. So I'm definitely going to have my eye out on it. I think that what they can do with Fee is just making sure that, of course, the Nintendo Switch version runs efficiently, runs great. That's the biggest thing, because you don't want to say, okay, well, we like Nintendo fans, we're doing all this and all that, and then the game comes out for the Switch and necessarily it's not up to par. Now, we haven't seen too many of those, but there are more third-party games coming, there are bigger budget games coming, and we're starting to see just a little bit of that. Now, I do think that this game will probably be absolved of that just because of the style of game that it is, but you never know, especially when they started getting their dev kits and whatever the case is. But I have high hopes that this game can turn out well. EA is one of those publishers when it comes to Nintendo Switch, haven't been the best, especially with some of the news that's coming out from different games. However, we still need to wait and see. These developers, they seem excited, they seem enthusiastic about a Switch version and trying to sell the game to Switch fans. I think right now the Switch audience is pretty positive on it. I think they think it looks good from the trailer and from what I've talked about before. So let me know what you guys think about this game, Fee. Are you interested in it? Will you be picking it up? Are you already sold? I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, and moving on to the next article, we have an interesting case when it comes to certain Nintendo Switch games as far as what developers are going to be doing, especially when the size of that game are a lot bigger than whatever cart it's on. So let's get into this first. So IGN is saying that certain Nintendo Switch games will require a micro SD card due to the game's size. Game boxes will indicate this requirement, and apparently this information is coming from a Nintendo rep. So, quote, a micro SD card will be needed for certain Nintendo Switch games that contain especially large amount of content and require additional storage for players to enjoy the full experience. If you purchase a physical version of the game that requires an additional micro SD memory card, you will be able to play a portion of the game right out of the box. For example, specific levels or modes. To enjoy the full game, downloading additional data is required. Depending on the storage requirements for each game, it may be necessary to purchase a micro SD card to expand the storage space. When purchasing a digital version of the game, it may be necessary to purchase a micro SD card depending on the game's storage requirements and the storage available on consumers' Nintendo Switch consoles. So just like you can see right here in the box, it says it pretty tiny, but it says it will point out if you need a micro SD card. That verbiage will be on the front and the back of the packaging. Now, when I first saw this, I thought that people were going to be upset with it, but it appears to be that people are like, okay, well, I can play it out of the box, and then maybe later I have to download some stuff, which still beats Microsoft and Sony's solutions when it comes to their systems, because you have to install the whole thing and it takes up your hard drive. Now, I have seen some people say, well, I'd rather pay a little bit more money in order to get a bigger cart to get everything on there instead of having to buy a micro SD card and having multiple games fill up. But I do think that's not necessarily the best solution, especially if there's going to be a lot of bigger games coming. The price of us paying more for those will actually eclipse buying an SD card depending on when you get it, if it's on sale, and all of that. Now, the one thing about micro SD cards is that they are fastly going down in prices. This Black Friday, you're probably going to be able to get micro SD cards in the 128 to 200 gigabyte range for anywhere from $20 to $40, somewhere in that range. I think I'd rather do that solution and have that big amount of space and be able to like download, let's say like 7 or 6 or however many gigabytes over the course of however many years, than paying an extra $5 or $10 for a Nintendo Switch version because it uses a bigger card. I think in the long run we'll actually save more money that way than saying, oh, we'll charge more for this. Just because I think that not every game is going to do that, but overall I think that the prices of micro SD cards are just going down. And if the developers were to say, okay, well then you guys are going to eat the cost when it comes to the game cartridge size, and games are, let's just say they're $59.99 on PS4 and Xbox One, but on Switch they're going to be $65 or they're going to be $70, I don't think that's a good way to market your game. That's just going to look really bad, and I think people rather just have it to where they require the micro SD SD card, and then you can get that for a good price and you can store multiple games, because you'll still be able to boot up that game. Most of the game will still be on that cartridge. It might be like an extra 6 or 7 or 10 or whatever the case that's on the external storage, but I just think that overall in the long run it's probably cheaper for the amount of games that are going to be coming to do it that way than it is to tack onto the price of the cartridge and make it look bad when you're at the store at retail. Like if you see the different versions of the game, man, and one of them was $59.99, the other one's $69.99. Obviously people are going to be like, what? $69.99? You know, they're not necessarily going to be happy with that. So I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it. I think the best way to do it really is to do it how they're doing it right here, which is still, once again, better than what Microsoft and Sony has, because pretty much every game, as soon as you pop that disc in, you have to install it to your hard drive, the whole game. You have to wait until they say, okay, ready to play, whether it's like 50% or 60% done, and then you play. Whereas with the Nintendo Switch, you can still pop that in there, and then additional stuff you have to download later, and you'll still save that space. You're still saving some space rather than no space, and I think that's the biggest thing. Now, of course, it'd be great if all developers can get like the biggest cards available, and it's still $59.99, but obviously a 16 or 24 or 32 gigabyte card compared to like a 64 gigabyte card is going to be a pretty big difference, and it might discourage developers from putting their games out on the system if they have to spend more and their margins aren't going to be as high compared to the PS4 and Xbox One. I kind of want to do the option that's best to where it's like the least biggest impact on both sides, where it's fair to both sides, and I think that having a lot of the game on the cartridge compared to on the whole thing, like digitally taking up all of your hard drive space or your micro SD space, that's a good compromise compared to what everyone else is doing, and then the developers also get to save money. So I think it's a somewhat win-win. Obviously, I think developers would love to have all of the game on the cartridge. Nintendo would love that. Nintendo's games do that. Fans would love that, but sometimes it's not feasible considering the price of the cartridges that we don't know at this point, but I'm guessing that even if it's $2 or $3 more over the course of 500,000 copies or whatever the case that you're going to sell, that's definitely a big difference, a big hit in profit. So I can understand where both sides are coming from this, and I think that it's the best compromise for what's going on with the Switch and the portable nature of the system, because you can't do Blu Ray discs on the Nintendo Switch. You just can't. It's just, it's not possible. We saw that with the PSP as far as spinning discs, and that didn't work out well. Sony switched from optical media to cartridge media, because for a portable, because the Nintendo Switch is a hybrid, for it to be in portable mode, you definitely want it stationary. You don't want moving parts in there, discs spinning, could get scratched or whatever the case is. It's just not possible. And then of course the size of the system would be bigger, so it's just better to do it this way. So I'll take that. You know, you got to take your lumps when it comes to Nintendo Switch on some things. Let me know what you guys think about this. Are you upset about that? Are you excited? Do you feel that it could potentially lead to more developers supporting the system if there's this alternative? I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across the interwebs in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon page. Go ahead and pledge any tier. Be entered to win some awesome prizes each month. In addition to that, we have Discord voice chat and $10 prize eShop tournaments for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and more. So support PE Live and PE Arena right here on PlayerEssence. Also, make sure you hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest news, reviews, discussions, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you ninja for the next video. Peace.